Olympic hockey rosters are the talk of the NHL town, and we're building a top fantasy roster with the Big Four Nation squads. And get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We can't stop talking about these Olympic rosters, so we're going to take it one step further on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast and build out a little live draft of our favorite players from Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the USA's Olympic roster for a beast mode fantasy lineup here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, where we continue to show love to those everydayers who make us their first listen every single day, putting us here at the Sports Podcast Network you need, Locked On, as the #1 sports podcast network out there. Shout out to everybody. Steele, this is an exciting episode, but you know it's brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can jump into NFL live bets all season long and check out that NBA happy hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern at FanDuel right now. Canada, USA, Finland, Sweden. We're going to build out a top roster in the fantasy game. Over to you, my friend. This should be fun. Live draft, if you will, something a little different. Tee it up for us, and let's get after it.
Look, I'm absolutely pumped to get some Olympic hockey back in our community as well. It's been a long time for NHL players to not be in the Olympics. They're excited to go to Milan for 2026 around the corner. Obviously there was a bunch of snubs that I want to talk about, especially for Team Canada. We can talk about Team USA and some of the snubs there that didn't make the roster. What Flip and I are doing, like we said, it's a little bit of a fun fantasy Olympic draft is what we're doing. We're going to try at least one. We got to pick at least one player from each of the big four nations here: Finland, Sweden, USA, and Canada. However, we are not picking the players that were automatically selected to begin the rosters earlier a few months ago. So no Sidney Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, Rantanen, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, guys that were selected in the top 6 early on in the roster selections. We cannot pick them on these fantasy hockey teams. Flip, I'll throw it over to you. You have the first pick. Where are you starting first?
Left wing, right wing, centerman, 2 blue liners, and a goaltender. So I take a look at this forward group on Canada because I think it just makes a whole lot of sense for me to want to round out my roster with a Canadian to start. And I'm looking right up the middle at Nick Suzuki, a player that honestly, Steele, who is now bringing 90 points on regularity in terms of my expectations. You're getting 70 block shots a season, 60 plus hits. He is chipping in with peripherals all day long, and I'm absolutely loving this player. I looked at Macklin Celebrini as perhaps my other selection, and I know there are a whole bunch of really good options out there to choose from. When I'm looking at Nick Suzuki this year, 14 goals, 31 assists, and 45 points through 40 games. Not only am I looking at this as because I obviously like this player, but I'm trying to get a well-rounded starting 5 fantasy roster here. And in the game we play, where those peripherals really come into play, and I know Brad Marchand does it too, and a couple of these other guys on the list do it as well. Nick Suzuki, for me, is the guy that jumped off the page as who I wanted on my team first, although a lot of good options out here and what is a fun angle to talk about, but at the end of the day, still a fantasy takeaway. Nick Suzuki is going to be a beast for many years to come. I'll talk about the Montreal Canadiens when it comes to big-time bets at the end of the show. That's a juggernaut in the making. Hit me with Nick Suzuki as my first pick and in the center slot.
I love that selection. He definitely deserves to be on Team Canada. He's been, again, such a big piece for the Montreal Canadiens, being such a young captain as well, leading them, this season, even last season, into a playoff spot. And he's such a facilitator. He's shooting the puck real good now, too. He had a rocket of a goal the other night for the Montreal Canadiens in that 6-5 win over the or 7-5 win over the Carolina Hurricanes. Great selection there. I'm going to start with a player from Team Canada as well, and I want the big bad bruising Tom Wilson on right wing. I think this was an incredible selection for Team Canada. Obviously, if you don't get Sam Bennett, you got to get Tom Wilson in there. I still think Sam Bennett, is a big snub on this team here. But Tom Wilson makes my roster. He's been incredible the entire season. Hits the 20-goal mark for the earliest in his career, which he's ever done. 2 goal after getting that call. He has a 2-goal game, a fight, an assist as well. The Gordie Howe hat trick. He's been incredible. And I want someone who's going to not be afraid to lay the big hit out there, especially in the Olympics. Again, maybe not even afraid to drop the gloves on the Olympic stage as well, but someone who's going to park in front of the net, bang away at those rebounds, has skill in the slot area too. Tom Wilson, to me, just brings everything I'm looking for and breathes Canadian life into this team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in a Canadian jersey.
And I have to totally agree with your take on him all the time when you speak about Tom Wilson, and you hit the nail on the head here. You know, 4 Nation forwards that aren't returning to Canada, Bennett, Jarvis, Travis Konechny. You're missing some of the sandpaper realistically with all 3 of those players, Steele. So we know what you get with Tom Wilson when it comes to peripheral love and his tenacity and tendency to mix it up. Fantasy or otherwise, I think this is one of the moves that I am really looking squarely at because of the other options. We love Travis Konechny on this show. Tom Wilson has earned it, though. And when I look at my next pick, and I know Philip Forsberg is traditionally a centerman, I'm going to throw him in at a wing spot because he can play the wing as well. So I'm going to put him out there at the left wing. Philip Forsberg is a guy that I know you have spoken about at length when it comes to steady as she goes fantasy production. 84 points, 94 points, 76 points, and the hits well into the triple digits. So I look at a player this year, Steele, that has 31 points in 40 games. His hits are right there again at 80. This Swedish team, when I look at that lineup, obviously the favorites are the Americans and the Canadians, but Nylander, Kempe, Raymond, Landeskog, Forsberg, Zibanejad, Ricard Raquel, even Jesper Bratt, Leo Carlson, your boy, Joel Eriksson Ek. I wouldn't even be surprised if you went after a guy like Joel Eriksson Ek here in our little mini draft. Kudos to the Swedish team, though. I don't think they should be slept on. And to kind of balance out my team here, I really want the guys that, just like you did, some of these guys that mix it up but bring elite offensive value. I think Philip Forsberg is a really good selection, maybe a bit of a cop-out, but I believe in a lot of leagues he is dual eligibility anyway. So I'm going to throw him out there on the wing.
He's actually positioned as a left winger on Yahoo. Maybe he does have the dual eligibility. He's definitely more of a winger here, so he's got to be on that left wing side. He's been an incredible piece for this Nashville team too. Again, clawing their way back into somewhat of contention for a playoff spot. And you just kind of look at what he's been able to do this season as well. Maybe the stats are down a little bit, only 16 goals, 15 assists, overall 31 points in 40 games. He loves to shoot the puck, 121 shots on net. He's typically in the top 5 or typically in the top 10 for shots on net in a season in fantasy hockey. And Philip Forsberg is a great selection to have. And you know what? I'll stay on Team Sweden as well.
Sure.
You know, you mentioned Joel Eriksson Ek. I really like that. I'm even maybe thinking about drafting Leo Carlson to this little Olympic fantasy team that we're doing. Jesper Wallstedt, maybe that's a little bit too risky because he's never been on that big of a stage yet. I'm gonna go with Leo Carlson up the middle, honestly. He's been such a tremendous young piece for the Anaheim Ducks. I know they've been slipping a little bit, but
yeah, he's been cold lately.
He has been cold, but you go on to you go back to the first 2.5 months of this season. He was absolutely sensational. 17 goals, 25 assists. In 39 games, 98 shots on net. Like you can see here, he's obviously gone cold. Only 1 point in his last 6 games. Before that, he was on fire. You couldn't stop this player from getting on the score sheet, is what it seemed like. However, now it seems like he can't get on the score sheet. But I think at this age, again, such a young talent, continuing to develop in the, top 6 forward group in Anaheim. I definitely would want him on my fantasy Olympic roster.
I like it, Steele. I also read somewhere, I believe the Anaheim Ducks have 5 or 6 Olympians. Leading the way, though, is the Minnesota Wild, I believe, with 8 Olympic players. Even the Florida Panthers, and we know the unit that they are, only have 7. So that's an interesting little takeaway, more of a general one. We'll talk more about these rosters as we get closer to the Olympics. We'll finish off our draft. We got big time bets coming, loaded 14 game slate on Saturday. Lots of bets and where you're placing them down, of course, at FanDuel Sportsbook. Fridays already feel different during the basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better every Friday night before games tip. FanDuel is giving fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is the official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. 6 to 7:30 Eastern has become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour on the FanDuel app before tip. Tap into the app, see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday. Like I said, 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little hoops, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, you have to go check out our new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Fantasy Hockey or any Locked On channel you're wanting, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. Members only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord servers as well, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. We're trying to continue growing that community. We want to see everybody in there in the fantasy hockey realm, chatting it up. It's all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. So go to lockedonfantasyhockey.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Once again, that's the Everydayer Club. You'll get free access, ad-free audio, and the Discord servers with Flip and I in it. Really do appreciate everyone who hits the subscribe button, the follow button, and leaves a 5-star review. Flip, over to you, my friend. We got a player from Team Canada. We got a player from Team Sweden as well. We got Finland and USA, at least one from each team. You want to go to the Team USA and see what they've got cooking up?
100%. I was almost going to draft a Finn. As much as we're doing this for fun, I'm also always going to want to have a better squad than you no matter what, and I want to balance my team out. So 100%. I'm going to the blue line regardless, and I see two names here jumping off the page. Again, we can't take the first 6 names to each team back in the summer. So I'm seeing 2 defensemen here, Steele, both of whom we've spoken at length about, Miro Heiskanen and Zach Werenski. I need a Finn. I need an American player. I'm going to go with Zach Werenski as my first blue liner. This guy has just been so good. We've covered the injury angles when he's healthy. He's a top 3 or 4 fantasy blue liner, and we've spoken about this as well. Cale Makar 1A, and in that 1B tier, Quinn Hughes, Evan Bouchard, and definitely Zach Werenski when he's on his game, maybe Miro Heiskanen as well. This year looking like that's the case. So this is a tough decision. My American player, because I need at least one, I think this is a great fantasy blue liner in any format. Already liking my team. I don't think there's a way either of us dislike our teams. I'm going to go with Zach Werenski here on the blue line as my first blue liner.
I think that has to be the go-to. If you can't get Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski is the next guy up. And I know Charlie McAvoy was also one of those players selected early on in the roster, roster selection here from Bill Guerin. If it's not Quinn Hughes, it has to be Zach Werenski. He's been incredible for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Maybe started a little bit slow, but picked it up recently, even though they're still near the bottom of the league. Look, this one's a little bit of a loophole, I think, because I don't understand how he wasn't automatically selected in the first 6-player group. But I got to go with my boy here from Team USA, Connor Hellebuyck, the #1 goaltender in fantasy hockey. I think regardless, with him in the lineup, with him as your #1 guy, even with Jake Ottinger and Jeremy Swayman, who are very talented, both, for their organizations and fantasy hockey perspectives, Connor Hellebuyck is the #1 goaltender in fantasy hockey. He's the #1 goaltender in the league. I think Team USA has the clear advantage when it comes to goaltending when you compare them to the other, 4 nations we're talking about, even when you get to the other, other countries in the Olympics. This is a 3-headed dragon of Connor Hellebuyck, Jake Ottinger, and Swayman. I got to go with Hellebuyck, my boy.
Yeah, the injury this year, the poor play of the team, still hard to poke holes in what you're saying about Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
just because of how good he is. But there is the angle of there's whispers out there that they might give Ottinger a serious look at getting the starting job at some point in this tournament. And that's just, I don't know how much you want to really read into that. And I can't sit on this show, Steele, and disagree with what you're saying about Connor Hellebuyck and how good he has been. But that Jets team is looking something awful right now. And it just, let's just leave that one for another day to dive into that one a bit deeper. Since you stayed away from my Finn and Miro Heiskanen, and I do have a ton of good options left in the cage, I'm going to go with Miro Heiskanen on the blue line. I just spoke about him.
You can't.
Why
Unfortunately, he was selected. He was one of the 6 selected for Team Finland.
Oh, man.
Sorry,
okay.
brother.
No, rules are rules. Thank you very much. Then you know what? Still looking at the back end, I do still need a Finn. That's not where I'd go for their defense. Esselindell, Mikkola, Lettinen out of Zurich. I would have to look around a little bit more to go for another blue liner. Rasmus Dahlin, can't take him either because of being a first 6 draft pick. So I'm going to go back to Team Canada to have a look at that blue line. And how about Josh Morrissey then? Is he allowed to be taken? You haven't taken him yet, right?
Yes, he is allowed to be taken.
Boom. Give me Josh Morrissey. Really liking my pairing here. Another D-man who gets it done at both ends of the ice. Hit me with Josh Morrissey as my second and final blue liner.
I like that one a lot. And you know what? If you're going to take Josh Morrissey, I will then take Macklin Celebrini of Team Canada. Put him up along with Tom Wilson and Leo Carlson. You got Big Papa over there who's going to protect the young guns, and Tom Wilson protecting Leo Carlson and Macklin Celebrini as that top line, right? That, this projected top line I'm building right now. I'm loving this unit. I have Celebrini, Leo Carlson, Tom Wilson, and Connor Hellebuyck. If you don't mind, I'll actually get to my defenseman, my first defenseman. I still need 2 defensemen. So I'll take one from Sweden and one from Finland. But let's go over to Team Sweden real quickly. I want to talk about a player who is somewhat near and dear to our hearts, as he is a Toronto Maple Leaf. And I will select Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he's had a tremendous season on the back end for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's been one of the, I would say he's probably been the top defenseman, consistent defenseman, regardless of the injuries that may have happened to him. Offensively, he jumps in the rush. He's been great on the power play when he gets the looks. A great selection for Team Sweden to get him on there as well. Again, you could go Erik Karlsson. You could go Gustav Forsling, Rasmus Andersson as well. I mean, maybe I could have gone Erik Karlsson, but I really like what Oliver Ekman-Larsson has done this season.
A little bit of an overachieve, but considering you get to balance this out here, and I've had a bit of a strategy, believe it or not, taking a look at these lineups, even though I kind of butchered my last pick, and I'm going with my Finn as my last choice, but I like that you were going after Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who honestly, Steele, we saw a lot of this with these roster decisions. What the last 4 months of hockey, or 3 months, I should say, has really done for some of these players and propped up their shot at making the roster. I don't know if Oliver Ekman-Larsson would have missed anyway, but what a fantasy gold mine if you were able to add this player, because I really don't think many people were drafting him at all, dependent on format. Yeah. You are off to the races with the value you've gotten out of OEL. I've got 2 more picks to make, Steele. I'll make one very quickly right now. Throw us to break. We got bets. My last pick up front and going back to Team Canada. So far on my lineup, just to ream it off, Suzuki at center, Forsberg at left wing, Rowensky and Morrissey on the back end. I know on the right wing for Team Canada, we still have an old friend of ours in Mitchie Marner, and I know he has had the start that he has had, and a lot of heat has gone his way. This is still an elite fantasy option. This is still a player who gets hot. He can still touch 90-plus points, no problem, every single year. I know what's gone on in Vegas for him. I like Marner. Remember how good he was at the Four Nations as well. A big-time player, not in the playoff Steele, but hit me with Mitch Marner as my last forward.
Hey, he's a good selection. He was a big reason why Team Canada won at the Four Nations, setting up Connor McDavid for the game-winning goal. He'll continue to provide chemistry wherever you put him in the lineup. He's just so creative, especially on the power play. If you can get him behind the net, he has so many outlets and so many ways to make a play when it seems like the play is dead. So that's a great selection in itself as well. We each got one more player. We'll get to big time bets after the break. Lots of games to love going into Friday. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip, I got 2 Canadians on my team, Tom Wilson and Macklin Celebrini. I got 2 Swedish players on my team in Leo Carlson and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I got my American goaltender in Connor Hellebuyck. So I need one final player from Finland. I gotta pick a defenseman here, and I'm pulling up the roster real quick once again, just so I can take a closer look at it. But I still think there's some solid options on here. Can't pick Heiskanen, can't pick Lindell. You got Mikkola, you got Mantipalo, Lehtinen, Mata, Ristolainen. I've got, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with Rasmus Ristolainen. I want the right shot defenseman here. He has a little bit of a bomb from time to time. You could go Nico Mikkola. Again, I need one last defenseman. I need him from Finland. I'm going to go with Ristolainen here.
Ristolainen, 8 games played this season, 2 points. I probably would have gone with Mikkola. The Finns are clearly outgunned and outmatched in a lot of spots, but that doesn't mean that they are not going to play well together as a team. Sebastian Aho, Rantanen, Hintz, Granlund, more than enough talent up front. Kakko, Lehkonen as well, Arturi. That would have been a sneaky good pick for this little mini draft as well, Steele. I'm going to go with UC Saros in the cage. With all the good goaltenders out there, I'm probably going to take some heat for this one.
Sorry, brother. I don't think you can.
I don't think he was named as their number 1 goaltender, was he?
He was selected in the first 6, is what it's saying.
Man. So now I gotta go. I gotta go with okay. So Kevin Lankinen's my goaltender. Oh wow, I really should have had more of a plan for this.
You could go UPL. You could go UPL.
No, I'll go with Kevin Lankinen. But look, at the end of the day, when I look at this tournament upcoming, and we have seen what it has done at the Four Nations to light fires under certain players, it will also have a fantasy impact on your team, good or bad. So the weeks leading up to the tournament, stay tapped to the pod. The weeks after the tournament, stay tapped to the pod. We will help you navigate this very interesting schedule, Steele. To recap my team, even though I butchered it at the end, Lankinen in the cage, Morrissey, Rowensky, Marner, Forsberg, and Suzuki. I think I'm going to give the edge to your team, but maybe we need to do a version 2 of this to work out the kinks.
We might have to, once again, Macklin Celebrini, Leo Carlson, Tom Wilson as my forward group. Nice. I got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Rasmus Ristolainen as the D pairing, and then Connor Hellebuyck. Yeah, the defense is not great on my team, but Connor Hellebuyck will bail them out if it comes to it. So I love that one. Lots of games. Let's get to big time bets here for Saturday throughout the day and the night. Got 10 plus games on the schedule, I believe. Flip, I'm going to throw it over to you because it has been it ended 2025 ended bad for me. It was a bad 2025 when it came to big time bets. I'm taking it very slowly to enter the year. I'm not doing parlays anymore. I'm doing single bets only. That's my New Year's resolution is single bets, but over to you, my friend. Where are you looking first?
The Quinn Hughes trade has been covered at length. We know what's going on in Minnesota. With Matt Boldy, Kaprizov, and Quinn Hughes on the ice, that is a very nasty trio of offensive talent. Quinn Hughes has gone back-to-back games without any points, and even though I had this here, I think he's got 7 points in 9 games with the Wild so far. Pretty good, but not jumping off the page. Quinn Hughes' anytime assist against an old foe in the LA Kings is feeling like free money, Steele. In 19 regular season games against the Kings as a member of the Vancouver Canucks, he had 18 points, 16 of them apples. I think this is a great spot for the Wild on the road for some value too, but I would also hammer Quinn Hughes anytime assist. I went with my lock of the night first, trying to cheer you up a bit, pal, because I know you'll like that pick. And with the back-to-back games of no points, I think you're going to get a really good odd here for a Quinn Hughes anytime assist.
I definitely like that. I definitely like that pick for the lock of the night. I actually had that myself. So you and I are on the same page going to Saturday, and that makes me feel a lot more confident with my picks here. Anytime assist from Quinn Hughes is my first pick as well. Nice. Second pick, again, I'm doing single bets only for now until things get a little bit better. I don't think this can continue for the Winnipeg Jets. And I know I said that the other day. And they just continue to lose. They let the Maple Leafs come back in horrible fashion, and the Leafs win 6-5. I don't think it will happen once again against the Ottawa Senators. Levi Merlanen hasn't been great since he's taken over as the number one goaltender. The Senators, like we talked about, struggle on the penalty kill. I'm going to take the Jets. I believe they'll be at plus money as well, maybe plus 110, right, or plus 100. But Jets on the money line against the Ottawa Senators is my second pick.
It really does stink in Winnipeg right now. It also leaned to the over there. It was sitting at 5.5, which I found to be very generous. Would hammer it at over 5.5. I'll just fire off my second two picks. The Tampa Bay Lightning roll into the San Jose Sharks. If not for the Buffalo Sabres and insane run the Colorado Avalanche are on, the Tampa Bay Lightning are the hottest team in the NHL. 6 straight victories and looking very good. This team has had multiple key injuries on the blue line. They've had inconsistent seasons from important players, like prolonged ones, Braden Point. They have had a lot of, and also a really kind of uncharacteristically average power play. They are sitting in the bottom third of the NHL, and they are still the top goal differential in the Eastern Conference, Steele, and 1 point out of the top spot in the East. So I don't know if that means the rest of the competition is lagging. I think this Tampa Bay squad is for real. They are also 8-1-1 in their last 10 visits, or just heads up against the Sharks. I know San Jose has reeled off 3 straight after looking kind of dodgy before the break. Tampa, money line on the road. That one feels like free money as well, Steele. And to wrap it up, Habs, money line on the road into the St. Louis Blues. The Habs are looking sensational. 6-1-3 in their last 10. They've got it cooking on all angles. Blue line, up front, in the cage once again. I really like this spot for the Montreal Canadiens. I would lean to the over as well, but hit me with the Habs on the money line on the road as well. Not feeling the Blues.
I also have the Canadiens here. This is a second game of a back-to-back situation for St. Louis. They played the Vegas Golden Knights last night or earlier today. I also will take the Montreal Canadiens on the money line minus 137. An honorable mention, I'll take the Oilers on the puck line against the Philadelphia Flyers at home. I know a little bit of a tough loss the other night against those Boston Bruins. You know how funny this is? I keep saying I'm going to take the Boston Bruins at plus money every single day of the week, regardless. I end up taking the Oilers. They get their butts kicked 6-2 by the Bruins. Of course, when I don't take them, I'm going to take the Oilers on the puck line. A little bit of the juice here, plus 140.
New year, new you, baby. Let's get after it. We'll have a big week.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Make sure you subscribe so you get all of the latest episodes. Follow us on X at LO_fantasy NHL. And you never want to miss an episode, especially if you have the Everydayer Club, because it's built for you. Get Locked On Fantasy Hockey ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to the link in the description below to join the club. And we will see you back here again tomorrow for a Saturday special.
Peace.